Interment will be at Mount Hope Cemetery. The family will be gathering for Shiva today and tomorrow. Today from 7 to 9 p.m. Tomorrow, Tuesday, from 2 to 4 and 7 to 9 p.m. at 50 Montpelier Circle, zip code 14618. If you further wish to honor the memory of Phyllis Silverman, you may do so by making contributions to the Jewish Home of Rochester, Jewish Federation of Rochester, Temple Beth El, or the charity of your choice. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, ונודה שירביצני על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב ינחני ומלך צדק למען שמו. גם כי ילך בגיא צל מוות לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשמתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on path of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table inside of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. A good wife who can find, her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. She renders him good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is robed in strength and dignity and cheerfully faces whatever may come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband too, and he praises her. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Place before her the fruit of her hands. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. It is now my honor to call upon family members to speak. We begin with Steve.
Thank you all for joining us today to mourn with my family. Whether you're here in person or watching via live stream, your presence means a great deal to us. This place, this pulpit, has holds special meaning to me. It's where I celebrated so many family milestones. From joyous occasions like my bar mitzvah, my wedding, my children's bar mitzvah, the ufrufs that we celebrated when my kids were married, and now moments of sorrow, my father's funeral here at this temple on this pulpit 31 years ago, and now sadly my mother. While it's a place of reflection, it's also a place of immense comfort for me. Seeing so many familiar faces, friends, and loved ones gathered here brings great strength to me and my family, and I know my mother would appreciate it. This past week, tinged with sadness, was a beautiful time, filled with cherished memories. The staff at the Jewish home were incredible. They transformed my mom's final days into a treasure trove of love. Lifetime friends like Shirley and Marcia came daily to visit. The week before last, there was an unforgettable visit from Philip, Stacy, Landon, and Brody, my great-grandchildren, and so many friends that brought laughter, tears, and joy, and a whirlwind of emotions. And then let's not forget the amazing staff at the Jewish home, the aides, the nurses, the hairdressers, and everyone in between. Their constant presence ensured that each day was special for my mother. Truthfully, it felt like she was winning the lottery of life's final act. She was surrounded by loved ones with favorite foods on hand, that incredible gift that my mom had in her final days. Even just a month ago, it was her 89th birthday, and it was unforgettable. We surprised her with a birthday party. Evan, my son, Jack, and my grandson Hudson came. It was the first time that my mother had ever viewed her new great-grandson. It left her with beautiful tears of joy streaming down her face, a memory that we were able to capture on video and will cherish forever. My mom was born in Carthage, New York, near the Thousand Islands. Mom's journey brought her to Rochester, where she pursued her career as a dental hygienist. From there, she met my dad, who was a dentist. And after working for a while, Mom chose to focus on raising our family, my sister and myself. Later, her passion for really blossomed as she became a successful model and a makeup artist. She loved making women feel beautiful, working weddings, bat mitzvahs, and helping moms shine along with their daughters. Acting and singing also fueled her creative spirit with appearances in many local plays. Later in life, Florida became her happy place. We'd visit frequently, enjoy walks and golf, and nights out, and the ever-present tradition of lox and bagel for breakfast that my kids insisted on every single day. Mom's legacy actually went far beyond. 46 years ago, she penned a letter to be read after her passing. On Friday, my wife handed me the letter, and I read her words that resonated deeply with me. And I quote, she said, "My greatest accomplishment in life was starting the Learning Resource Center for Children with Learning Disabilities on the east side of Genesee River. The first class was held at Meadowview School in Brighton, and she finished the letter by saying, I'm deeply proud of what I did and grateful for what it successfully accomplished for all those kids. It's the greatest treasure I can leave you." Again, that was written in 1978. Mom was a true beauty inside and out, proud of her Jewish heritage. She cherished her trip later in life to Israel with my sister Linda, delighted in welcoming granddaughters who also shared the same values. Laughter was a constant companion. I could tease her endlessly, and she'd always give it back to me. For the past 3.5 years, since the arrival of my first grandson, my relationship with my mother had undergone a seismic shift. Gone were the days of deep philosophical discussions. They were replaced by a 2-word mantra: more baby. Imagine the scene. I'd call brimming with news that I'd improved something at the lake house or a great show or did something at work, and before I could get a word in edgewise, there it was, more baby. This wasn't just a request, it was a demand. A clarion call for a live video feed or a fresh batch of photos of her newest obsession. "Mom, how you feeling today?" I'd ask. "More baby," was always the reply. Let's just say my perceived stock as her favorite plummeted faster than a week-old banana. My name became the culinary equivalent to chopped liver, which she affectionately started calling me, completely disregarding me in favor of the new stars of the show. Wendy and the girls, previously holding a solid position in the Love You More department, experienced an upward bump. Mom, it seemed, had discovered a whole new level of affection reserved for the next generation. It's a testament to the circle of life, really. The new arrivals sashay in, stealing the spotlight, when us oldies transition to chopped liver status. But hey, no complaints. Mom's infectious enthusiasm for her great-grandchildren has been a pure joy. Besides, who needs endless phone calls when you can get a daily dose of more baby pronouncements? It's a language of love all of its own, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. My mom taught us all so much, including the art of creating our family's treasured holiday meals, her big box of recipe cards secured by tons of rubber bands. Thankfully, Wendy's learned everything and taken up the mantle, ensuring these recipes are passed down to another generation. Even though grief fills our heart, there's comfort in knowing she's reunited with the rest of my family. She'll be resting in peace next to my father, very close to her parents at the Mount Hope Cemetery. I believe her spirit will continue to guide us all. And in a final, playful spirit, Mom promised Wendy she'd return as a butterfly, flying around and showering her with kisses. I know if she does, she'll be the classiest and most beautiful butterfly for sure. Mom, we will always love you and miss you. Amen.
Thank you, Steve. We now call upon Phil and Evan, grandchildren, that will speak of their grandmother.
Thought we might have a minute to breathe there for a second, but all right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're Phil and Evan, or as our Bubby would refer to us, my Philip and my Abby. As some of you know, the Silverman family is a small one. We're tight-knit, we commit to and prioritize each other. But Bubby was the proverbial anchor. The anchor that brought us together back here in Rochester for the Jewish holidays, and the anchor credited for instilling the character and moral compass in our parents that's now been passed down to us. Our memory will live forever, just in a different way now. Every time Dad's new boat anchors down with 9 of us aboard, we'll be able to reflect and have nothing but thanks for the time our 4 generations got to spend together, including in the last weeks of her amazing life. We want to take a few moments to share a few of our memories and lessons learned from Bubby that we'll never forget.
As young kids, we made at least one annual trip to Bubby's condo in Fort Lauderdale. With overwhelming excitement, she would tell the whole Pine Island community that we were coming, just as she did at the Jewish home. Now, if that doesn't scream a proud Bubby, I don't know what does. We love spending time together in Florida, going to the pool, playing golf and shuffleboard, going to the flea market, and we even made it to a few Miami Dolphins games together. Bubby ran a tight ship in her home, and she's the source of many of my OCD tendencies. She would follow us around the house with a vacuum, and her floor was so clean that you could eat off of it. Her cleanliness rubbed off on me, and I can now appreciate the greatness of a clean house. It was also there in Florida. She spent countless hours watching Phil and I golf, hunt salamanders, and cook us her favorite, yet frequently burnt meals. We used to brawl and argue outside, but Bubby was clear that we were to cut it off when we got inside. And, she always told us that brothers should fight privately but praise publicly, and that's something that's always ingrained in us.
We were fortunate enough to live 10 minutes walking distance from Bubby through our entire childhood in Brighton. No one tells you growing up what an unbelievable convenience that is. Not just because she was able to come to our baseball games at Buckland Park, but because every time we had to threaten our parents that we were going to run away, who knows why, we had somewhere safe to go. I'm running away to go live with Bubby, we would say, and yes, we'd actually try it.
And she was so happy every time we showed up at her house and told her that we had come to live with her. The downside was we couldn't leave her house for about 3 hours until she finished putting her makeup on. But she was always so happy to see us, and I love what we called Bubby days, were days that she would be watching us, in the mornings where she'd pick me up and we'd go get bagels before school.
In the early 2000s, once it became clear that there were definitely no more grandchildren coming, Bubby began to form quite a relationship with high-end luxury food items, including some not kosher things. I'm talking about lobster, crab legs, ribs from Sticky Lips, and her favorite Jewish deli classics, bagel and lox and tuna fish, to name a few. She's the reason behind my love for those same classics. Those of you who knew Bubby well knew she wasn't shy about vocalizing her opinion about what people should or shouldn't eat. She let you hear it. Despite rarely heeding her own advice, we learned the important lesson from Bubby that some of those foods are just not meant for the airplane. We love you, Bub, but no one wants to smell your lox and tuna on the plane. As we got older and moved out of Rochester, we made it a priority to make one-on-one trips to visit her in Lantana, Florida. We'd take her out on walks, eat at beachside restaurants, and of course, take a good old-fashioned nap, which was Bubby's favorite. This was solo grandson Bubby time we rarely got at that stage of our lives. In addition to the quality time in those trips, it was then we learned that as 21-year-olds, you can look to your Bubby to buy alcohol for you. But when you turn 31, you're the one buying alcohol for her. Bubby always loved a stiff drink, especially when it was with us.
She had a special place in her heart for our wives, Jacqueline and Stacy. Bubby adored and cherished them while considering them the granddaughters she never had. But it wasn't until the boys, Landon, Brody, and Hudson, were born, which made her a great grandmother, that the four of us realized, she loves us, but she doesn't love us that much. I mean, she loved us, but she really loved those babies. And, she maybe even loved them more than us, and we were okay with it. We'll never forget the happiness that they brought her in her final years, and her more baby FaceTime requests will live in infamy.
While you're fortunate enough to have 32 and 34 incredible years and memories with Bubby, her life has left an indelible imprint on our futures and will continue to shape the young men, well, not so young anymore, that we perpetually hope to be. Perhaps the most lasting lesson we took away from the latter years of Bubby's life was to love, cherish, protect, and take care of your parents no matter what. We're acutely aware of how blessed we are to have our own parents as role models, but seeing how they both together showed Bubby all the love, compassion, thankfulness, and support that they did until her passing is a life lesson we'll never forget. Mom and Dad, you should be so proud of the love that you showed her until the very last second. And we know she's with Poppy, thanking you for it right now. Bubby will never know that she played a small role in the opportunity for us to learn that, but she did know that we, our wives, and our boys loved her too until the end.
For all the family, friends here to celebrate a wonderful life of our Bubby Phyllis, whether you knew her personally or not, we want to thank you for playing a part in her life and her community. There's no doubt that Bubby would have wanted us to celebrate with her. So we hope everyone raises a glass tonight, preferably of her favorite, the Sunkist Diet Orange Soda, and of course with a splash of vodka, in Bubby fashion, to remember her spirit and incredible life that she gave to all of us.
We love you, Bub.
Thank you, Phil and Evan, for beautiful words about your grandmother. Our beloved friend Phyllis was a woman beyond the ordinary. She was a person of great talents, great accomplishments. She was very animated in her reactions, and she exuded a high level of energy and happiness. But these are not the aspects of her life that make us come here today. It is our deep sense of kinship and love we share. We are indeed a community of fellow mourners because of the affection and genuine love cherished towards our dear mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, great-grandmother, and friend, Phyllis Silverman. She loved being Queen Esther at the Jewish home. In reality, she was a queen in real life. Don, her husband, who passed away 31 years ago, met her because she had gone from her town of Carthage, New York, Highway 81 north. She had come to study dental hygiene here in Rochester. And I'm sure she left this young dentist with his mouth open. How beautiful she was. The family took trips to Utica to find more Jewish life. And indeed, that was the place where Phyllis and Donald got married, Temple Bethel in Utica, around 1957. Because of her expertise, the two of them worked together for some time until Steve came around and she decided to stay home. And of course, we heard how instrumental she was trying to help Lynn to get the right education. I can only imagine, because I have a daughter who has autism, and even today in 2024, we still have to go and fight to get them trained and educated. So my all admiration to Phyllis. Then, as we heard, she changed careers, and she was here at B. Foreman's store with that line of Princess Marcella Borges, related to Revlon. I had to do my research. Quite important. When she was involved in your lives as making sure you look beautiful for your wedding and for your bar mitzvah, as Steve spoke so eloquently. We just were talking yesterday that much of Steve's early life was being in the bathroom looking at her mother getting dressed. That was a tremendous amount of time, but we joked about that yesterday. She also had her own business, makeup business, called Faces by Phyllis. What a great name. And she became a widow at age 58, and she made the best of the life that she had left all the way to today. That's very hard in a world that likes people to be in couples and friends, and she was able to connect to many, many people and have friends all around her. But she never married again. Was a great grandmother, as we heard from Phil and Evan. And it was someone who light up your life. Because she was not just a mother for her family. Wendy told me yesterday that in many ways she was a mother for her. And that attitude of kindness, projection of love, was something that filled her life, not just when she was well and going to Florida for 3 months during the winter times or coming back, participating with the kids' games or being a grandmother and a mother. But this was even later in her life when she was at the Jewish home. Indeed, COVID-19 was not friendly to her, and that changed her life dramatically. She went from the hospital to the Jewish home. It was at the time that Evan was getting married. And she was with that mask of oxygen and unable to go freely everywhere until she decided to take the mask off. And lo and behold, God Almighty supported her. She was able to go to the wedding, and she was able to continue living in a much better condition. She liked people, and she participated, as I began saying, in plays and acting. She had a lovely voice, a good voice. And we will remember her as glamorous as she was, charming, with refined good taste. A person that will say to you, you can't go out that way, let me fix your face, and do what is necessary for you to look better. She was funny, animated, outgoing. She went dancing and liked singing. And I was told that she got funnier with the years. So that was very important. She was very serious about memorizing her lines for Queen Esther and other roles she had. And we can say together that she had a good life. True, losing Dawn was difficult and challenging, but she was able to move on independently, live in Florida, finding friendship, and being the woman that you knew. My wife, Savannah Backman, who works at Jewish Life, Senior Life, Jewish Home now to be called, said the following: she was always sweet and kind. She came to every program with a smile, looking so pretty with her jewelry. She is forever our Queen Esther. She was such an amazing actor. Her voice, her expression were very unique. Savannah said, when I went to visit her this past week, I was so moved by her words of love for me. I thank her for being my friend and brightening us with her personality. Sometimes residents touched our hearts, and Phyllis was one of them. I felt that we got to know and live with each other, and I'm so glad that I had a chance to learn, celebrate, and be with her during the last few years. It was also moving when I came on Friday to visit. I was touched by the fact that Wendy and Stephen were there. I understand Wendy spent a night in the past week with her and having amazing conversations with her. All of a sudden, her memory was back, and she was telling stories and giving information about her life that perhaps was not known before. She was aware of her condition near the end. She expressed her love for the grandchildren, and those videos are precious, great testimony for your children, for your grandchildren, at the time when they become bar mitzvah, to take a look and see how wonderful of a great grandmother they had. She did remember the names of you until the very end. And she said, and as she looked, even in those conditions, She looked good to me, pretty, as she moved and she entered in the Olam HaEmet, in the world of truth. Now words about her family. She was married to Dr. Donald Silverman. She is survived by her loving children, Wendy and Stephen, Lynn and Rick, loving grandchildren, Phil and Stacy, Evan and Jacqueline, and the 3 great-grandchildren, London, Brody, and Hudson. Her parents were Levi and Elizabeth Schneider. And we cannot but feel, even amid this bereavement time, a sense of gladness, a sense of gratitude for the blessings that have been in Phyllis' lives and the blessings that will remain with you. Let us concentrate upon the eternal qualities of our dear one. Let us always remember the way she lived her life, her spirit, her happiness, and the way she loved us. May she be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May the soul of Frida Bat Ariel Lev be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. And let us say all together, Amen. I'm going to ask you to kindly rise for the memorial prayer, and that will be the last ritual here at the temple, and then we'll go to Mount Hope Cemetery for interment. El male rachamim shochen bamromim hametze menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת פרידה בת אריאלב שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה ענה בעל הרחמים אסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Phyllis F. Silverman, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is her portion. May she now rest in peace. Let us say all together, Amen.